Coming up on today's show, we have yet another trip report. This time, it's on the high seas as we go on a Disney cruise. That's coming up today on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome everyone to Traveling with the Mouse. Today, I am back and I am hosting. It's been a long time. My name is Jason, and I am your host for this week as we go about yet another trip report. I thought about going alone, but that wouldn't be that much fun. So I brought along several friends, including someone who went on the cruise with me. That's Adam.
What's up, everybody? Yep, I went.
You went? It was your
It was my first. Yeah, my first cruise.
We'll talk about that. We'll get your reactions to your first Disney cruise. And we also brought along someone who did not attend this cruise, but has attended many Disney cruises in the past, and that's John.
Unless we can stop the unusually large man, then you're doomed.
More Guardians. More Guardians.
Yeah, I just figured I would continue the trend.
Gotcha.
Speaking of Guardians.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit. So this is going to be a string of episodes that are going to probably be a lot of trip reports, because if you're associated with this show, you seem to be going to Disney this time of year or in some way or another.
This is our Disney travel bender month. Sounds like.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody went to Disney this past week when I was there, just saying.
Yeah.
Although today was pretty tame when I took a look at compared to the rest of the week.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like they only let a few people in each day. It's pretty low crowds.
Right. Yeah.
Low capacity.
Yeah, that's
low capacity.
That's part of the point of the reservation system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, keep the crowds low, wait times very low.
Right. Because, they're not fully staffed.
Yeah, and it's not that hot there, and it's pretty comfortable. Anyways, back to our trip report. This is really a land and sea trip report because it was bookended on each end with one or more of us going on land out to Disney World.
Yep.
So before we dive into the cruise, and hopefully we don't dive into the cruise too much because you want to stay on the ship.
Don't dive off of the ship.
Our feet wet.
Yeah.
On the cruise.
Let's start, Adam. Maybe you tell us a little bit about your pre-cruise activities.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, I just remembered there's a couple of firsts. I stayed at the All-Stars for the first time as well.
That's right.
All-Star Music.
Ooh.
So we did a pre-cruise night at All-Star Music and actually really enjoyed it. First time even on the property at All-Stars, and the rooms at All-Star Music were basically the rooms at Pop, like the redesign, so I enjoyed that. We had a really nice preferred room right next to the main building for All-Star Music. We were a corner room, which was also nice, quieter. Yeah, it was nice. I enjoyed All-Stars. I would go back there. Actually, I'm thinking about I might actually book All-Stars again in another couple weeks, so it's possible. I know, right? Isn't that bizarre? But
okay, I get that you liked it, though. Did everybody in your family?
Yeah. My wife liked it because it reminded her of the rooms at Pop, and she's gotten used to Pop because I've made her stay there a lot. And everything's better than those mermaid rooms at Art of Animation, so anything's a step up from that. Although I think those are better now, too, right?
I was going to say, what was your major beef with the mermaid room? Did it have to do with the carpet, partially?
It was the carpet
that's gone
and
now.
The curtain between the bathroom and the main area of the room.
Okay, that's still there.
The shower curtain. Yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, that was the thing. She didn't like that.
But you went a little early because you were going to ride Guardians.
Correct.
Course.
And at home, see, this is another debate about pulling boarding groups because we have fiber internet at home, and my wife got a boarding group 8 at home. So 7 o'clock in the morning, we were still at home. She got boarding group 8. And so also another kind of question was, if you pull a boarding group and you don't show up until, like 7 hours after your group gets called, will they still let you in? And the answer is yes, most likely depending on the cast member that you get when you tap in. Because I would say most don't care and they'll just let you in anyway. But I'm sure there's probably one or two that's like, by the book and will maybe give you a hard time about it. But I think you'll get in.
The thing that I understand is, the light turns green if you've had a boarding group no matter what, right?
Well, we turned blue when we tried to check in. Yeah, we went at... So we drove down as soon as we got our boarding group. We, got there ended up going to the hotel, whatever. Got to Epcot around 4:30, I think. I also bought a lightning lane for 5:30 to 6:30. And so, but we got to Epcot around 4:30. We walked straight to Guardians, tapped in and went blue. Cast member looked at it and was like, yeah, okay, hang on 1 second. And then let us tap again and then it turned green. And, they never even questioned, like, why are you here 7 hours after your group? But anyway, so the first time we went through, my wife got sick. She didn't like it. She felt nauseous, or her head and stomach was hurting. I felt fine after it. My kids loved it. So I was like, well, I bought this lightning lane. So my oldest son and I ended up riding it twice with those 2 lightning lanes, so we got to ride it 3 times in one day in the course of like an hour, which was awesome.
I've often wondered if like a picture shows up on, like, you know what I mean?
Like the cruise does?
Yeah.
Tap in, yeah. I don't know. It's a good point.
Because I've never really looked at what they see.
Usually, I've seen it before where it's just your name shows up, like Adam or whatever, taps in. I've not seen a picture, though.
Yeah, I just wonder where they would get it. Well, they actually take your photo on the cruise line, so.
Yeah, sometimes, though, like, kids, if they have trouble with their fingerprint, they'll take their picture. So I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you loved it.
I did. I mean, do you want to skip ahead and talk about your experience on it, Jason? Or
we did. We'll go ahead and let's get the land part of the review out, because we were able to pull a boarding group on our last breakfast at the cruise and spend a little bit of time at Epcot after we got off. So I was able to ride Guardians as well, and it was a pretty cool ride.
Yeah.
Unique. I thought the not the pre-shows, but the queue was underwhelming.
Like the standby area of the queue?
Yes. Because what it did is I walked in and I remember, Adam, I was like, are we in the line for Flight of Passage?
That's right. Parts of it did feel like Flight of Passage, yeah.
Because of things behind glass.
Yeah, and then you go to the next part, you're like, am I in line for Rise of the Resistance?
Right.
And you're like, am I in line? Like, it just felt like every other line.
There's that one area that feels like Test Track, too, where you're like waiting for those doors to open. That feels that's the merge point. Yeah, it feels like Test Track in a way, where you're going into the car creation area.
Yeah, so that part was interesting, but the whole concept of the ride was cool. I don't really know what was happening as much on the screens. I know we were fighting the guy that had the thing, which is what you're supposed to do.
Thing that was trying to stop time, essentially, yeah.
Right.
I think his name is Eson. It's E-S-O-N. I don't know how you pronounce it, though.
Yeah, but it was just like flying past, and I can see how you can get sick if you're trying to like really pay attention.
If you focus on the screen, and that's why remember, I go back to Rhino talking about this, was like, if you don't want to get sick, don't stare at the different things too much or you're going to get sick. And so I just I enjoyed the music and then just sort of go with the flow of the ride. I don't try to turn my head and focus on everything.
So it's the opposite of Mission Space Orange, right? You focus straight ahead if you don't want to get sick on that one. On this one, don't focus.
Yeah, it's like my strategy was, and I haven't gotten sick yet, is I sort of just, when the ride turns, I just sort of turn with it. I don't turn
look
my
at what
head.
the ride's looking at.
Right, I just sort of flow, go with it,
It's like it's turning for a reason.
Right.
Go with
I don't stare at everything though, either. But
the description that we have heard leading up to this, right, was that this was Rock and Roller Coaster meets Space Mountain.
Right. What was your description, Jason? I thought yours was actually
it was if they did Primeval Whirl well.
That's actually a pretty good description.
Right. Primeval
Right.
World. Yeah.
Primeval World done well.
Primeval World meets Rock and Roller Coaster meets Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, and then they have the alien encounter nod whenever you teleport.
Yeah,
much.
well, good point. Yeah.
I did think that part where Peter Quill is talking about going to Epcot as a kid,
Oh, yeah.
they went a little over the top with the veggie, fruit
Yeah.
call
No, I
out.
thought it was hilarious.
It is, but it's a little over the top.
Yeah. That's one of the few things that the standby line gets that if you're a lightning lane, you don't see that part.
Right, yeah. I got to thinking about that. I was like, I remember that part must be in the regular queue. I thought was so like I didn't see that. So
Yeah. It's actually the very end of the regular queue, right
Is
before
it?
the merge point, actually, yeah.
okay.
Because a lot of people will stop to watch that and hold up the line. So
Yeah,
I noticed
when
that.
I did mine, I literally walked to the merge point. There was no way. There was no
Right.
wait up until then.
Yeah. When I did lightning lane twice on it, and yeah, every time I walked right into that room, basically.
Yep,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I would say it's my favorite ride at Epcot now.
Oh.
I would think.
You said or you would or you wouldn't.
I would,
Okay.
but it is not my favorite overall ride.
See, he probably still feels the same as me or similar.
Right
Everest
now.
is still number one.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
See,
right now I would say that's beats Everest for me.
it doesn't for me.
Everest is great, but to me this one is better.
As far as coasters go, Everest is the funnest overall coaster at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I can't agree. I mean, here's the thing I would say, like the others, I've gotten 4 different songs so far every time I've done it, but the one you got, John, that is on our YouTube channel, is it on YouTube? The one you
Yeah,
posted?
it's up.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
As a matter of fact, by this point, it's probably got as many, if not more, views than
Nice.
the Grand Floridian construction already.
Ooh, nice. That's a lot for us. That's saying a lot. But I would say when that song hit, and that's my favorite song, of course, of the 6. It was the best moment I've had at Disney in I don't know how long. It was amazing to me. It's hard to describe that feeling, but it goes. I think James was talking about Gen Tracker was like emotional on it. Like I wasn't like
Yeah.
crying, but it was such a cool experience to me hearing a song like that and loving it. And yeah,
I was a little more like Tim in the I didn't like the
Get the story.
storyline. Yeah, the storyline doesn't just jump out at you.
no, but I didn't
So-
care about the story to me. I just hearing a song and then just the way the ride flows and oh man, it was by far my favorite. So.
See, when I got home, I watched like videos of every song that's available, right? And then I studied videos for whatever reason. I became like somewhat obsessed with getting all I could on this attraction, right?
Yeah.
So after looking at that, I understand the storyline. Matter of fact, if you really want to understand the storyline, go watch the TPM Vids version, of course, because they always do the best overall
And
compilations.
you have to
of
go
it.
watch the Eternals movie, right?
I don't know if you got to do that. Do you?
Well,
Maybe-
to
maybe
really
it helps
understand the Celestial or whatever. Wasn't that a
Right.
Celestial?
Yeah.
Because that's from the Marvel Eternals movie.
We need to move on, but I was just going to mention to our listeners out there, the strategy of the queue is the first couple of, what do you call them, pre-shows, I guess. You want to sort of stay to the middle right, and then the last pre-show, once you get through the transporter, you want to stay as far right as possible. And then, the room expands, and you want to just be next to those doors if you want a shorter wait, because the first time we rode it, we were on the far left, not knowing that, and we were basically at the back of that line.
Yeah.
And that probably costs another 5 or 10 minutes minimum.
It costs you that much?
Yeah.
I'd really be shocked if it cost that much, truthfully. But anyway.
It was a lot. It was quite a bit, yeah.
By the way, one thing I noticed about this ride, I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible.
Yeah.
You know how there was 2 sides, right? So in your mind, you're thinking one goes to the right, one goes to the left, but that's not how it works. They actually both go to the right when it takes off. Just one has a longer track. So they actually are all going on the same track. They're just loading 2 different sides.
Right.
I don't know if anybody realized that or not.
Which I think is how Tron's going to work as well. Tron is going to have 2 sides, loading and unloading.
Yeah. But I mean, it kind of goes around. The weird thing is the other side goes around the whatever you're like when you first come in.
Right.
It's almost like a tower. It goes around that, so it has a much longer distance to the actual first lift.
And I've loaded both sides now. I've actually done 2 on each side now. I've done 2 on each side, so
there you go.
kind of cool. Anyway, great ride. My favorite, I think, at Disney World currently. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah, and let's hit a couple of the highlights of the rest of the trip. I know you got your table at La Cava, as always.
Oh, yeah, that night. Yeah, we got La Cava. We got a great server there. I ate at Connections Eatery, which I thought was actually really good as well. So, yeah, we fit a lot in. And then we went to Magic Kingdom that night and did a few rides. We rode Pirates so that we could congratulate Captain Jack on winning his treasure in the lawsuit he got, So we tipped our hat to Captain Jack at the end.
And similarly, when we got off the boat, we did go get a drink at La Cava. We rode Grand Fiesta.
That's right.
I think the most interesting thing from that part of our land portion of the tour, the post-ship tour, was that we did do the character meet, and then I said, let's show you the DDC member lounge. So we got on the... Yeah. We got on the wait list for... then we got in line for Figment. As we got close to the front of the line for Figment, it broke down or something, and we got called for the member lounge. We got out of line, go to the member lounge, we sit down. You relax for 5 seconds, and one of your kids has to go to the bathroom, so you have to leave.
So I left the building. Yeah.
While you're gone, we're about to settle in. Someone comes through and says, "Get your stuff, evacuate the building immediately, get out now."
Yeah, crazy. And it was raining. Yeah.
It was raining. Everybody was pouring out of the Imagination Pavilion.
And the adjacent building, too. That Pixar, whatever building, that's the other building, yeah.
Yeah. And we saw cast members running towards the building. We saw security. We stood around for a while because we assumed some sort of security incident or something. But, we never really found out what it was. The news sites never picked it up. I'm sure we'll find out in a couple of weeks or a month or so what happened.
If there was an arrest, we'll hear about it in a couple of weeks on the news sites, but yeah.
Did we ever go searching for anybody saying anything on it?
Yeah, we did all the way back.
Yeah, it was down. I found out it was down for almost 2 hours before it opened again.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Crazy.
So that was fun parts of our land tour, but the main event of today's show is the Disney cruise. Adam, you've never been on one before. We've taken a long time to convince you to go.
Yes.
And you finally went. It was a 3-night cruise out of Port Canaveral, the very last cruise of the Disney Dream out of Port Canaveral.
That's true.
After we got off the ship, it relocated to Miami to make space for the Disney Wish, which will start sailing in July.
I wondered why they did it so early.
I think originally the Wish was supposed to be sailing now.
Already? Yeah. Well, it was, yeah. But I just wondered why, what's sailing now? Besides, the Fantasy or whatever.
Just the Fantasy out of Port Canaveral, I think. So, I flew in morning of.
Yeah.
We got in pretty early, met y'all at Disney Springs met up so that we could head out to the ship. We had a fairly late boarding time because things that have been going on, I haven't been as focused in a lot of things. So I didn't really organize the team early and tell everybody that we needed to check in a month in advance. So we checked in fairly late. I think I had a 1:45 p.m. port arrival time. You had a 2. Our friends had 2:15 or 2:30.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what you thought about the arrival process there.
Yeah, and that's why I thought, 1:45 we'll be on the ship at that time, or we'll get on fairly quickly. But with the current COVID testing protocol, or actually not even current as of now, they're not doing the same process anymore. I don't believe if you're fully vaccinated, I don't think you have to get tested anymore. But we had to. It was the last week for that too. When we got there, I got in trouble for jaywalking because my kid had to go to the bathroom. Right, I ran him across the bathroom and got in trouble.
When we were doing the luggage drop-off.
Yeah, we did the luggage drop-off. Anyway, so then we had to get in the parking deck and then did the COVID tests, and that took 45 minutes to get to the testing area. There was a lot of something like that. Anyway,
How much was parking currently for a 3-night?
$68.
I'm trying to think of where that falls, but I guess that's about average. All right.
And now, the funny thing is you pay first and then you test. So if we had tested negative, I guess we were just out $68. So I guess that's the testing fee.
You're like, I've already paid. I'm sitting right here.
Yeah, right. And then since we had both of our parties in the car, they had to test us sort of separately. We couldn't test all at once.
Yeah, they send each stateroom separately.
Yeah. So you guys tested first.
Which is good because your kid had to go to the bathroom.
Right, again. So as soon as we parked, it was like 45 minutes later. I had to take him to the bathroom again. This time at least I didn't jaywalk, but I had to take him again. And then by the time I got back, it was time for us to test. You guys got your results fairly quickly, like because you had tested earlier. And then I'd say, 5 minutes after we parked? Well, it was longer than that. Maybe 10 minutes after we parked. We got our results and we were cleared to sail.
Cleared to sail.
That was one of the best moments because I think up until then, there's a little bit of anxiety around that of like, okay, we've done all this work. We've done uploaded all this stuff. We've gotten to this point. We had to test our 4-year-old 2 days before and he had to test again. And it's like, well, now are we actually going to do this or not? And then finally it was like, okay, we're actually doing this. So it felt good. And then we got through the customs area and the security checkpoint. And then my son had to go to the bathroom again before we got on the ship. And then we finally made it. They announced our party. And we walked on together. Yeah. Yep, all 7 of us together. And that was a cool experience, actually getting on the ship. And then like, oh, we're actually here. Like it was kind of it was almost surreal, and then I think the way I described it to you was overwhelming because immediately it's like we're late, right, getting on the ship essentially. It was, 3:30, 3:45 at that point by the time we actually got on. And so we're like an hour from setting sail, and, we have to do the safety thing, which, again, I still don't understand what we did, but we had to, like, prove that we knew where our, like, meetup point was, right?
Yep.
And then we had to register the kids or get them ready for the kids club. And
there was this push because my wife wanted a spa treatment, and then
she was schedule stuff. Right?
She wanted us to try to get an alcohol tasting of some kind. And, there wasn't anything available before we got on the ship, so it was going to guest services, which we ended up not doing that tasting. And so because we wanted to do all this stuff and get the spa treatments, like everybody was like, we got to go book.
Right.
And finally we get on, we get it all settled, and then we end up at the pool deck.
Yeah, for the Castaway party or Sail Away. Was it Castaway party? Yeah.
Sail Away party. And we have 5:45 dinner, but somehow we're still going to the pool at like, I don't know, 4.
Something, 4:15, yeah.
Are they still doing the thing where they limit the number of people in the pool?
No.
They're not? Okay.
Everything was back to normal. The only thing that was different, as far as I could tell, was Adam's 4-year-old had to wear a mask in the kids club because he's not vaccinated.
Right. Okay. And that was not something I knew ahead of time. Thankfully, he didn't care. Like, he was fine with it. So, otherwise, it was like, oh, gosh, really? This is going to be like, I didn't think he would
scared, worried he wasn't going to do it, right?
Right. Because he's not used to wearing it much anymore. I mean, back in the day, he was, but...
Yeah.
So that was a concern, but it was fine. It ended up being fine. I will say, when you're talking about the pool, one thing I was a little surprised by was how small the pools were. I was thinking it would be bigger. I was expecting
you have you do have a limited number of space. I mean, It is a ship.
Sure. But I'm just... That was, again, not knowing anything about cruises. I was like, oh, that's it, like a little round pool. That was it. I was expecting, like a big pool or something. I don't know. But, once you got used to it, it's like, oh, okay, the kids didn't care. So,
it
wasn't a big deal to them.
Well, there's 2 pools, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the Donald and Mickey.
I was wondering if they had them both, because, they have the ability to cover them, obviously.
Right, which they did on the final night, man. They were like, nope.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Yeah. So we did that. We got to the pool. I feel like you were just like, what is happening?
Yeah. Sensory overload. Too much going on. I had no clue how to find my way around either. And there was like different sets of elevators. Like, where does this go? I don't even know what I'm doing. And, it was like, but by the end, it's like, oh, I know exactly where everything is. But the beginning, it's like you have to, all these things quickly, one after the other. And then dinner, was like, oh, we have to hurry up and get down to dinner. And
when you're forward, you actually do have to walk a pretty good ways to get just to the elevator, depending on how far forward you are. But
we were close to the forward elevators.
Yeah, so you weren't too bad.
Yeah, we weren't too bad, yeah.
But you still got to walk a good ways to get to where any of the food is.
Yes. Yeah, long way.
But we did make it to dinner. Dinner was a 5:45 dinner. It was at Animator's Palette, and we met up. We were linked with some friends, a lot of people. Some more people that your wife knew, and they were linked with other people. So we ended up sitting all at the same table with them. And we ended up, that worked out because we had a kids table and an adults table. And the kids, I'll just go ahead and spoiler alert, the kids stayed at their own table at every meal. There were, 7 or 8 of them total?
Gosh, maybe, at least, maybe.
And they sat over there, ordered their food themselves, ate by themselves, took care of themselves, played on the, they got a little rowdy, but in general, they were over there.
Yeah. The only downside is, I think what you told me your first cruise, Jason, was that the kids club folks would actually take them from dinner back to the kids club, which they aren't doing currently because of COVID.
Yeah, they haven't started that back yet. They haven't. So we would have to get up and go take them.
Yeah, which we did do that first night, and I think another night we took them. I feel like, and Jason was telling us, kind of ahead of time about the rotation, and it was your least favorite of the restaurants. And
Animator's Palette is in my opinion the worst food on the cruise, and I told him, I said, it's just going to get better every night. This is going to be the worst.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't remember a thing that we had that night.
We had that steak. We had that steak, and it wasn't that good.
Yeah, the steak was tough that we had.
Our friend Stevens was pathetic looking.
It was a tiny one, yeah.
The only thing I remember was the lemon. Was it the icebox cake?
Yeah,
that was good.
Icebox cake. Yeah, I don't remember much else about it.
Do they still have pirate night, by the way?
They do.
Did,
okay.
Yes.
So they have the pirate food that night?
No,
they don't do that? Usually the menu for pirate night is the same for all the restaurants, is the reason why I say that.
No, they did not do a pirate-themed food. They had just pirate-themed music and people dressing up. And it kind of got spread over 2 nights, which we'll get to. But that first night was not pirate night.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just I was actually asking for the cuisine because
yeah,
I've always found traditionally that if you're going to skip one, that's the one to skip, whatever night that is, personally. That's just me.
I would also say about Animator's Palette, I knew it was kind of like Turtle Talk with Crush, but at a restaurant. But we were kind of in the middle of the restaurant, so we didn't even hear what Crush was saying. Like, we could look over at the distance and see him talking to some other tables, but it was like there was not any interaction for us at all. We were too far away. Yeah. So there was like, okay, well, I guess that's cool. I mean, but it has nothing to do with us. Like, we're not involved in this whatsoever. I guess maybe because I was kind of sensory overload as well. It was just, it was kind of, I don't remember much about it. It was just too rushed.
The Crush show is Turtle Talk with dinner. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. And I could tell, I saw Crush, I could see he was talking to other tables, but we were too far away for him to even see us. So I was like, well, okay. It wasn't great.
But we got through dinner. It was good. You got the Kids to Kids Club, and we were able to go
to the adults area.
To the adults area, where we were able to sit down and have
Deck 4.
Yeah, some drinks, hang out for a little bit, and I'm trying to remember, did we end up that night back up at Deck 11? Or no, that was another night.
We did, because I remember getting the chicken tenders that night after dinner.
Yeah. Well, you got a ton of chicken strips. Every time we would pass the Deck 11 Tomatoes Grill, Adam would just get another order of chicken strips. Like, we had so many chicken strips. So many.
I did. Yeah.
And we had because we went back because the kids wanted more pizza.
Yes, the kids wanted more food because, again, they barely eat anything anyway.
We picked them up from Kids Club.
Right.
We gave them like 2 or 3 hours at Kids Club, maybe 2.5 hours that night.
Yeah, so we ended up there again, and yeah, they had pizza, chicken fingers.
Because that's right. I gave a tour of the ship because y'all hadn't been there. I was trying to show
That's
you all
right.
around.
Yeah, you were showing us some different areas, that we hadn't seen yet. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, that's pretty much it, right? We everybody turned in after that.
Yep. Did you get your room service that night? Room service chicken tenders that night?
No, I didn't get them that night. Well, actually, the last night we ordered 2 orders of chicken tenders, room service.
There you go. Adam destroyed some chicken
I
tenders.
did.
But,
I got used to that. I got way too used to that.
Did you step on a scale when you came back?
No, I have not. Thank God.
The seas were a bit rough that night. They were rough both nights. Basically all the nights. Turns out we left right as a tropical storm was about to make landfall in Florida.
Yeah.
And so we were stuck right in the middle of that.
Yep.
So Adam got to really feel the rockin' on his first night.
I did, and I was worried about getting seasick. I was talking to somebody earlier about this where I didn't feel like sick. I did take a Dramamine when we got on the ship, and I was fine that first night. I didn't really only time on the ship that I felt seasick was at breakfast. I think it was maybe that second morning. Just sitting there. I had finished eating, and I was just sitting there, and the boat was just moving. And I was like, I have to get up and walk around. And then I took another Dramamine.
The Cabanas breakfast day.
Yeah, Cabanas. So we're in the back of the ship. And then I felt fine the rest of the cruise. I didn't even take another Dramamine until I got home, which was another weird thing. The day after we got back is when I felt the most seasick, actually. Or the most, not really sick. It was just like, I felt off. Like I felt like I was moving, and apparently that's normal too. Anyway.
So it was a good first night. I think you were. I think if we had surveyed you after the first night, though, you'd feel like, I'm not doing this. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah, my wife and I both looked at each other that first night and we're like, is this our thing? Like, are we going to like this? I don't know. Like, we were both kind of like, I don't know. It was fine, but it just was so much, and we were overwhelmed that first night.
That's interesting. That's interesting getting overwhelmed on the first night. I mean, I guess.
There was so much we had to do.
Yeah, we were late. I mean, we didn't get on the ship until like an hour before we set sail. We had all these things to do. We didn't settle in really until that next day. Honestly, the next morning, because the messenger, Jason and I were both up because I didn't sleep well because of the rocking, and you were always up early. And so we're just like, well, let's go get a coffee or something. And so that was our thing, was getting up super early before everybody else, and that was my favorite thing, was walking the ship before anybody got up.
Yeah, I really liked hanging out with you pre-dawn, and I think we got up that morning
like 6-ish, 6:30.
6:30 or so, 6:45. We walked up Cove Cafe,
watched the sunrise.
got some drinks. I mean, some coffee drinks.
Watch us blow past Castaway Cay. I was like, oh, that's Castaway Cay. Bye.
Yeah, we took that back. Everybody was asleep, and we saw the Castaway Cay because we were supposed to go there, and we saw it just storming over it, and we're like, I guess that's where we're going. And then you and I went and got breakfast without anybody.
At Cabanas, yeah, that's right.
Because nobody else was awake. So you and I ate breakfast first.
Yes.
And then everybody else came up and had breakfast.
Yep. And you had breakfast again. Oh, no.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of, yeah. A little bit, yeah. I ate a little bit more.
I've done that before.
Right, the double breakfast.
I kind of have. It was on a trip that you were on, believe it or not. I don't know if you remember it or not. I'll mention that later, though.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, everybody was awake, and so it went from Castaway Cay Day to a day at sea.
Yep. Yeah, they had to reschedule the whole thing, basically, yeah.
Yeah, they just, shipped us out in the sea to try to get us to some sun. So it was a little bit of until the afternoon, it was pretty cloudy, a little rainy.
Yeah, it would rain a lot off and on, and very windy, because we went up to deck 13 where the Goofy golf is?
Yeah.
And it was like, you couldn't hold your hat on. It was so windy.
Well, Adam, I think you might be surprised that if you're on a cruise with good weather, it's still very windy out there, so.
Well, this was rough. I think it was me, you, and your son, Andrew, or maybe my son, too.
Yeah, we had the kids, yeah.
We were going to see if Goofy Golf was open, and it was so windy, we could even trying to get into where that elevator was. It was just like the door wouldn't shut. It was so windy and everything. Yeah, it was like we couldn't even stand up there.
Yeah, because that morning we had a little bit of time. It was me, you, my son Andrew, and your son Harrison, because we let your oldest go with our other friend's kid and just let them go on their own.
Yeah, which was actually pretty cool. He loved that because they got, who knows how much ice cream they ate between the two of them. They just would be like, oh yeah, I got ice cream. Oh, I'm gonna get some more. I got ice cream. You know, every time you'd see them, they're like, yeah, we just got some. We're gonna get some more. You know, lots of ice cream.
Yeah, so we had them for a while. Goofy Golf was a bust. They added all this stuff, and they did theme park trivia. So we went and took the two kids and dropped them off at the kids club that we were responsible for, and Adam and I went and did theme park trivia. Yep. Our wives showed up to watch us and roll their eyes at us. And I think we came in second. We could have done a little bit better. It was difficult because they went not multiple choice because there was a ton of Disney nerds there. We got 14 out of 20. I think the winners got 16 out of 20.
Honestly, I don't think in any of the trivia they were offer, I've never been to one that had multiple choice that I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. No, there has been some. But it's very rare.
Yeah.
And they're usually just right. It's kind of like on the honor system usually. I mean,
yeah.
Is that how it went?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to check your own,
Yeah.
But there was like some of the questions we barely got wrong, like the opening date for Shanghai. I couldn't remember the exact date. We were off by a little bit, but
where did the trivia take place? Like where were you?
They were doing it in the district.
District, okay.
On deck 4.
Deck 4, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, they have them at various places, you know, all over the time. I imagine they pretty much just moved what would traditionally have been your Sunday day to Saturday. They just took that itinerary and just moved it forward.
They kind of flipped it, yeah. But they added some extra things too, is what it sounded like in the announcements. They had a few extra things that they wouldn't normally do that they brought out.
Well, usually the day at sea is chock full anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, when there is a true day at sea, yeah.
True. So I don't know, because it was the first full day we had, so I don't know.
But we ended up a lot of time with the kids at the pool.
Gosh, yeah, the kids could have just lived at the pool, that deck 11 area, because they would just go get food when they wanted it, get drinks when they wanted it, get ice cream when they wanted it.
Yeah.
They go back and forth to the pool, the splash area, the slide. I mean, the aqueduct, yeah. Great. They loved it. Yeah, hot tub.
They would call it the warm tub.
Right, warm tub, yeah. They would be in the warm tub, yeah.
You think that was pretty cool though, the glass bottom ones or whatever? The one you can see
it was cool. It wasn't as clear to like see through, but it was cool. Yeah, it was cool to hang out in there. I hung out in there briefly.
It's pretty clear if you take a GoPro and then video it and then look at it later.
That makes sense. But yeah, I didn't like open my eyes underwater to see it clearly. But
yeah, I get.
It did die down though a little bit later. We got sun, which was good.
Yes, finally. Yeah, it was late in the day by the time we got started. Late in the afternoon or mid-afternoon.
Now, I heard the words aqueduct. What'd you think, Adam?
I didn't actually do it myself.
What?
Because he
was going to do it the last night and they didn't have it open.
Yeah, there was several moments where I wasn't dressed for it, and I was like, dang it, I wish I could get in line now. But then the other times the line was like an hour or 30, 40 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, but it's the only ride, so what else are you going to go ride?
Well, that's true, but we were doing other things, so I was like, well, if I had more nights, obviously I would have done it. But
did you say, can I get a lightning lane?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
My son loved it, though. He did it many times. My son did it several times.
We did play Goofy Golf, my son and I did. We did get up there eventually and do it.
Yeah. I did play it once, too, but it was kind of flooded. A couple of the holes were flooded because of the rain, but yeah, it was fun. I liked the Goofy Golf.
So dinner that night, we all somehow made it. Enchanted Garden. Your thoughts?
Better. I love that one. Mainly because we sat next to one of the port holes, whatever you want to call it, where we could see the ocean. Yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Where we were sitting was a better location. The food was much better. This is where I sort of got into my own because I'm like, I think the first meal I ate like one appetizer, maybe a salad and dessert or an entree. This one I'm like 3 appetizers. I had 2 entrees, 3 desserts. It was like I was getting into the groove of like, yeah, just order everything.
Yeah, I had been on before the last one I went on in 2017. I had already been on 3 previous ones. I'd always in that Enchanted Garden, I'd always walked by and was like, it'd be kind of cool to have one of those teacup tables. And just so happened in 17, whenever we had Maddie with us, that's what we got was a teacup table. So it was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, we had too big of a party to get a teacup, but
Yeah.
it was nice. I remember Enchanted Garden being a good experience, and I knew it was better than Animator's Palette, but I was like, just wait, Royal Palace is going to be better. So we'll get there.
Right. But I just remember there was more on the menu I liked. I was like, oh, I want to try this, just this. And of course, our server at that point was just like, well, just order it. I'm like, I kind of want to try this. And it's like, well, just order them both. Like,
You can order everything, yeah.
So I started getting into the routine, and by the last night, I was like, I want this, and 3 of these, and 1 of this. Yeah. I wasn't shy about ordering.
Adam's like, just
everything.
bring me the menu.
Yeah, just
And,
bring it all. All the bacon and eggs you have. Oh, anyway.
All the bacon and eggs you have.
Yeah.
So I remember that night we did do the kids club again, and we went back to Skyline area, and that was the night we went to the. Was that the night we went to the Skyline bar, or was that not that night? I can't remember.
Oh, I think that was the first night, actually, we did Skyline. That's the one that had Paris, New York, Chicago, Hong Kong, maybe? What was it?
Yeah,
what
was that the first night or the second night?
I feel like that was the first night.
It's the dark bar.
Right.
So where did we go the second night? I can't remember.
I think we wandered around, but we didn't do much that second
And
night.
then we ended up on the deck, because that's whenever the aqueduct was running, and you were.
Yes, that's in Muppet Treasure Island was on, and then we were trying to stay up for Pirates, the Black Pearl, Curse of the Black Pearl, but
Well, that was going to be on till like 1 in the morning, so, or probably later than that.
yeah, none of us could make it. I did watch a few minutes of it because I had to go back up to
And my son wanted to leave and go watch. He's just obsessed with the Descendants movie, so we just went and watched that in the stateroom.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just watches those 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just watches them.
Interesting.
Most of the adults talked a big game, but none of us could stay up to past 11 or something. So
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Pirates movie, I've never really gotten past the point where they find Will for the first time, and then that's about as far as I get before I
fall asleep.
nod off.
Yeah.
Yes, that's about. I don't get into very far at all.
But see, the thing is even though it was sort of pirate night, they sort of at the last second said, "Oh, we're not going to shoot the fireworks off tonight. We're going to shoot them off tomorrow night."
Yep.
And so we sort of had 2 pirate nights.
Kind of, yeah. 2 unspoken pirate nights, sort of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was funny. One of the things that I didn't expect was how kind of mesmerizing having the giant screen in front of the pools are. And, you kind of really get captivated by. And I was like, Muppet Treasure Island. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, but I'm like, oh, this is a really good movie, actually. And then Pirates, I just had this. I just went back up to get my wife some creamer for her tea, and I was like, oh, this is a really good movie. Let me sit and watch some of it. And
I believe I smell something burning.
yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, and I remembered. I was like, oh, this is a really good movie. Muppet Treasure Island was probably the last really good, of the kind of older school Muppet movies. But yeah. Anyway.
So it was another rough night because they had turned the boat around and they drove us back into the storm because they're like, we're going to try to make Castaway Cay.
Right. Oh my gosh, that was the roughest night for me. I woke up 4:30 in the morning. The whole room was shaking. There was the hangers in the closet were clanging, and I felt the dips, and you could hear the waves outside, and I was like, oh god.
Well,
I looked out the window and you couldn't see anything, and I was like, oh god. It was a little eerie.
Forward is the worst place to be for sense of motion, truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would. Well, again, we didn't have the option to choose our stateroom, but I would definitely try to do mid next time.
Mid is best for people who get seasick.
Yeah.
Aft is my personal favorite on the Disney ships, though.
Is it just location to a lot of the things, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. It's closer to most things, most closer to the food, obviously. This are below and above you.
Yeah.
Right?
I will say a disadvantage to mid is that most people tend to use the mid elevators.
I've stayed mid before, and you're exactly right.
Yeah.
That is the busiest elevators on the entire ship.
Most of the time, we would just take the stairs because the elevator situation, good golly, was horrible. Like,
especially on a 3-night cruise, because everybody who does theme parks and stuff take those.
Right. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was. Yeah, the elevator situation was not fun.
If you were to ever go on a 7-night one, you would not think that. Even about midship elevator, it would not be as bad. I'm telling
Just
you.
because people don't rush around as much, I imagine.
Part of it.
And it's not the theme park crowd, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a different set of guests, pretty much.
Different vibe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wake up early. You and I do our deck walk.
Yeah, deck 4, which I loved. Yeah, doing that.
And it was good. And we saw, we were like, is that Castaway? Is that Castaway? We weren't sure, the day before we were supposed to be at Castaway at 8:30, and that didn't look like it was happening. And so, but we did make it to Castaway Cay.
Yes.
Our friends were like so adamant to get to Castaway Cay, they like lined up on deck 1 waiting to get out. But my family, your family, we went, my wife had to go do a spa treatment, but we went and did breakfast at Royal Palace.
Right. She couldn't get out of it either because all the things that we had scheduled thinking it's our day at sea, we had to try and unschedule because it got switched to the Castaway Cay day, and the spa was the only thing we couldn't get canceled without a fee.
Without a fee.
Right.
So she did her spa treatment, and we went to Royal Palace, and I liked that breakfast there. It was nice.
It was good. Yeah, that was a really good breakfast.
What type of treatment did she get, just out of curiosity? Do you remember?
The facial.
Okay. The only one I've done is the couple's Swedish massage before, which that was pretty intense, actually. But I've wanted to do the rainforest pass just because that looks like that would be pretty cool and doesn't take that long, obviously. So, anyway.
I wouldn't mind doing a spa thing one time, too. I think that on a longer cruise, obviously, I think would be more efficient, but yeah.
So, but we had plenty of time. We got there, and we weren't that far behind our friends getting off the ship onto Castaway Cay. They extended us till 5:30 instead of 4:30 for Castaway Cay.
Yeah.
We get off. Adam, your review of Castaway Cay, it's your first time. It's been hyped. Didn't live up to it.
It exceeded my thoughts about it. It was very hot that day. That was one thing. So
I think that was everywhere in that part of the country.
Yeah.
Or that part of the world.
For sure. Very hot. And I sunburned pretty easily, so I, was concerned there. It wasn't too bad, though. I didn't sunburn too bad. But once I got out into the water, I was like, whoa, this is like the best beach experience I've ever had. Because it's not like any kind of beach that I've been to before. It's just a different atmosphere. I don't know.
The only people that can possibly be on it are the same ones that are on the ship, for one thing.
Yeah.
They have the netting up to keep the wildlife out.
Right. There was no
clear.
like fish hitting me in the leg or anything. Although we did see some like little hermit crabs or something on the.
Now, Adam, I got to ask you this because I've said this before, and I can't remember if Jason kind of felt this way, but when you step off, does it not have the whole like you're on Disney property feel, the way they do things, the way they have things laid out?
Oh gosh, yes. And I would say the best experience was not just getting off the island, but going back onto the ship where they hand you those ice cold towels.
Oh yeah.
You're like, okay, whatever, and then you put it on your head or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing in the world. How did they do this? Yeah, it was like, just the whole way that they handle it was amazing. The other thing that blew me away about Castaway Cay was the food. I didn't think the food was going to, I thought it would be kind of like cabanas on the island, but I was overly impressed with the food. What cookies is it? What is it called again? Yeah.
What cookies to whichever section you were in.
We went to cookies too.
Yeah. Man, I went back a couple of times and got like a whole plate of those ribs. It was so good. A brisket sandwich I think I had as well, and everything was great.
In case you haven't noticed, listening audience, Adam can put away some food.
Yeah.
He put some food away on this ship. So did I.
Did.
I mean, we haven't talked about all the chicken tender stops. He stopped for chicken tenders a lot.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned it, but yeah, I stopped like any chance I got.
And I sort of got on board with you as well. And I'd get the pizza. I mean, the amount of pizza, chicken tenders, and ice cream we had.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All included, by the way, folks.
Yeah.
All included.
Right. We got our money's worth.
Yeah, so that was a great day, being on the beach. We got back on, I don't know, 2 or so.
Yeah, 2:30, 2:30, something like that. Yeah. And that's when I thought I would do the aqueduct. I was like, okay, everybody will still be on the island, but like
Everybody already got back
everybody
on.
already left. They were already back. I'm like, what? The ship was so crowded when we got back, thinking
Some just don't get off. I mean,
that's true,
still.
but I just thought, oh, it'll be at least less crowded. And that's when I was going to try to do it, and then the line was even longer. It was like all the way around the side of the ship.
Well, it turns out they weren't going to reopen it later that night. It was closing at 6 or whatever, so that's probably why.
Which the night before, I guess, was it was open till like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And that's when I should have done it, because there was nobody in line then.
it's really weird because I've seen times where they'll say you can ride by yourself, and I've seen times where they say you have to have somebody with you.
It depends on the wind.
I guess it has something to do with winds. Yeah, that's the only thing I can figure out.
Yeah.
So we got back on, we did the pool, and it was very close to time for dinner that people got ready for dinner, but we made it.
Yes, it was a rush, but we made it. That was definitely the best food.
The best.
And I had ordered like everything on the menu just about.
Mm-hmm.
The salmon was disappointing. I remember that it wasn't as good as I was thinking. But what did I get? It was the
Chateaubriand.
Yeah, right. That's the one. Yeah, because the night before it was the prime rib, and that was good. Yeah, and then the escargot, of course, was really good. I think everyone got that again. Everyone was thinking, "Oh, it's not going to be that good," and then
I told y'all it was going to be good.
Right.
I told
tried
you.
it, and then everyone
Which
ordered it. The escargot appetizer.
Okay.
What was the other? There was another one that was really good there too.
And we had a porthole view there too, and we could see that once we pulled out of Castaway
Oh, we were
Cay,
moving.
we were booking it back.
Yeah, we're
Because I think they were trying to get us out to sea because they're like, oh, we're going to shoot off the fireworks, but they had to stop. You know, they had to stop early out in the middle of the sea, so they shot the fireworks off at 8 o'clock. It was still light outside.
Yeah.
And they shot the fireworks off.
Right. Yeah, because we went up there and watched, and it was fine, but it was still daylight. The sun set like after the show. We everyone looked over, and there's the sun starting to set finally. So it was weird. And then oddly, by the time the second dinner had started, it was like a ghost town up there, and the pools were closed. They closed the pools early that night. They were just like, go to bed. You have to get up at 6 in the morning. So
We went and packed, and people put their stuff out and did their room service and get their last chicken strips in.
And that's I think I ordered chicken tenders, and then we went back to the room and ordered more room service that night, and that's when I got the 2 plates of chicken tenders again.
I probably should have mentioned this before you went, though, Adam, but this is just kind of an FYI. You can actually, whatever you had at dinner that night, if you want to, you can call and ask for it. If they still have it, they'll actually give it to you at room service.
Oh, okay. So actually, what happened too was one of the people at our group at that last dinner, they were talking about something from the other restaurant the night before. Enchanted Garden, and they went and got it for her and brought it to and she was like, "Oh wow."
Well, you got to think they prepare to use a lot of food, and they pretty much have to use it up on the cruise. So
yeah, right, makes sense.
Anyways, so we get back, we get into port, and it's an early morning, but we go and we sit down and do the sit-down breakfast. Yep. Again at Royal Palace, another good breakfast, and off the ship we go, and we head to Disney World. What did you think of the debarkation process?
I thought it was smooth. There was a line at times, depending on the timing, it can take a little while. But once we got off the ship itself, the process of getting your luggage and going through customs and all that was super easy. It was very clear where to go. It was very clear, where you should be, and the process was super quick and very easy, stress-free.
Yeah. So we got off. We went into Disney World.
Yep.
We already talked about that.
Yep.
My flight was delayed. You were going to take us back,
yeah.
and we decided to just cancel the flight and drive back, which was good because my flight that was scheduled to leave at like 5:55 actually left Orlando at 12:30 in the morning. So good thing you drove us back.
Right, because by the time we got back to Atlanta, your flight had just left. The flight that you were going to get on in Orlando had just left, right?
Had just left Atlanta to head to Orlando.
Yeah, exactly.
So you drove back. Did you rent a vehicle, I guess, or what?
No, we rode with Adam and Dahlia.
Oh,
yeah,
we were able to all fit in there somehow?
Yeah, we fit in. Yeah, it worked. It was tight, but we made it.
I was going to say, I was just thinking including your each of your luggage added to it.
And
so
the kids,
it still worked? Okay.
It worked. Yep. The third row SUV, man, it works. It fit us all. Got us there.
Got us there. And I got my nap in.
That's true.
Adam did all the driving.
I
Good
did.
job, Adam.
I did. Thank you. Yeah. No, but I guess to sum it up, the beginning, was a little overwhelming. I didn't know a lot about the cruise situation in general. Like I knew what you guys had told me, but I'd not really done a lot of research on my own. So it was kind of a new experience. So that part of it, once I got used to it though, and I knew where things were, and I knew, got the chicken situation going and ordering the extra food and, really taking advantage of the amenities. Yeah, I would totally do another cruise. I didn't book one on board, but I would do another one.
Yeah. They give you, 10%, I think, if I remember right?
10.
Yeah.
That's what they offered. But I would definitely do another one. I think the next one I would do would probably be like a 4-night or 5-ish, maybe. I would probably try something like that just to do something different, have a few stops that are different than just Castaway Cay. But, man, if I got a double Castaway Cay, I wouldn't hate that. If I could find one of those or something, yeah. So I don't know when I'll do another cruise, but I definitely will at some point, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm with you. A 4-night seems like a nice balance. I've always done the 3 nights, and they always feel like you just get into your groove when it's time to get
Exactly, yeah. That's kind of how it felt. Like, it's good for the first time, to get your sea legs, as I kept saying. So I think it's good to start there and get used to it if you're not a cruiser. And you've never done a cruise like me. I've never done one anywhere with any cruise line. And I think this cruise was unique in a lot of ways because of the storm, but also it was the last dream out of Canaverals. It was just a lot of different things about it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what day it was. When did the Wish get received? Was there another Disney ship in port at all, or was it just a dream?
Just a dream.
Yeah,
Just
it was the only one there, yeah.
The Fantasy was out to sea whenever we got back.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because we were checking that to see, are we still going to be able to go to Castaway Cay? Because for a while there, I wasn't sure if I would even get to go because of the storm. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, oh, well, the Fantasy's not due until Tuesday, so we should still be able to go. And, of course, we were able to get there on Sunday, so.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed your first, well, Adam, your first venture. Adam, Jason, this is your third?
It was my third.
Yeah. So Jason's just one away from what I've got so far as far as number of sailings. I've got 2 fantasies and 2 dreams.
Okay. Well, I only have one dream, I guess. So.
Maybe next time you'll have a wish.
Yeah, maybe next time there'll be a wish. I was originally going to have already done another sailing, but COVID. So.
Oh, and I was going to mention to you, John, that we did do the midship detective thing. They did have Muppets this time.
Did they? They must have added it to the dream because they didn't used to.
So they did have Muppets. We didn't do it, but I would have liked to have done that one. Yeah,
that actually is quite cool. I actually have the last time that I did that was on the Fantasy, I think, in 2014, and I'm pretty sure I filmed the entire process, so I have the whole game pretty much on film. I don't know if you'd want to watch all the way through that or not.
Yeah, I was also going to mention about the service. I think, the service was excellent, of course. I think for us, it was over the top, meaning we're not used to that level of like
your server follows you everywhere. I don't mean literally everywhere, but I mean like for dinner. The same service team.
Yeah, and the guy that does the room, it's just they're waiting on you hand and foot for everything, and so it's like
They remember you though when they interact, when they find you
Right.
in other parts of the ship. Like if you ever encounter them,
which we did, yeah.
you will encounter your server on Castaway Cay. I'm almost positive. Did you encounter any of your servers?
Did
You
we?
usually
I don't
do.
remember.
I always do.
We may have. I don't recall now. I know we ran into our head server lady somewhere.
When we were walking the fourth deck one morning.
That's right. She was outside. That's right. She said something to us. Yeah. That's right. I remember that now.
And so, yeah, pretty much the decks to check out anything at all is what? Deck 3, 4, 5, 11, 12, 13, and I guess you could kind of say 14. I mean, other than that, the rest of them are staterooms, which is no real reason to go there unless you're playing the game, I guess. I don't even know if the game's on any of those decks.
Yeah, they're on every deck, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So all in all, great experience. It took a little time to get used to it, but once we did, we loved it. And my kids, they want to go back now. I mean, they didn't want to leave. They loved every second of it.
So obviously they love the Oceaneers Club.
Yeah.
What is it called? Oceaneers? I forget what they call all of them now. There's 3 different names.
Oceaneers Lab and Oceaneers Club.
There you go. That's what it is. Yeah.
They didn't love it as much as I'd hoped. I thought they would want to stay there all day. They would rather be at the pool, I think.
Did you guys get to go in there and check it out?
We did. We did a little bit in the beginning, yeah.
They still have the Falcon in there and all that good stuff?
Yeah, Falcon. They had Andy's room. There was one area we didn't go look at, though, and there's 2 sides, which, once you realize that, you're like, oh, okay, it's pretty big.
Yeah. Now, the Toy Story room is pretty cool with what's his name? The car. I'm having trouble with all the names right now being in there.
The RC.
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 Well, I forgot. They call him something else, don't they? I could be wrong.
Remember.
Yeah. That stuff's starting to fade.
Yeah. My son did a drawing class. He drew some stuff. He drew a Mickey and a Minnie and a couple other things. So it was good.
So
good stuff.
Another question, is the Falcon basically the original Star Tour still? Did you go over there and look at that?
It was a pod racing thing it was like the pod racing. It was weird.
Really?
It was like the Millennium
So
Falcon.
maybe it's not the
pod
original one
racing.
anymore. Maybe it's the new version as well. I know it used to be that the original Star Tours video, I guess you would call it, was what you did on the
really?
Falcon there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we saw it looked like the old N64 game with the pod racing. It was on Tatooine.
Maybe it was.
It looked a more modern version of it, but yeah.
Well, I think that summarizes it unless there's any last thoughts.
Yeah, that wraps it up.
I was just going to finish off with saying I definitely recommend that you do. I know you say 4 nights would be better, but I really recommend that you do a 7-night one on the Fantasy especially. Because, I mean, that's the sister ship of the Dream, and in my personal opinion, a slightly better ship. Even though there's a lot of things that are identical, but I think the Fantasy overall is slightly better than the Dream is. Not only that, in the 7-night one, my favorite one of all the ones I've done was actually the very first one that Lynn and I did. And it's not just because it was just Lynn and I by any means.
Okay,
but
that didn't hurt, though.
It was destinations. It was an Eastern one that went to St. Martin and St. Thomas, and it actually started out with 2 days at sea consecutive in order to get down that far, for one thing.
Nice.
So that was, I thought, perfect for a relaxing cruise because you don't really have anywhere to be unless you just want to be, right? And you could just do whatever you want to on the ship. So that to me was the perfect start for a cruise.
Right.
You don't feel rushed when you do one that starts out that way.
Yeah.
So
I can see now that you mentioned that about the theme park people showing up for like those weekender cruises. Like, yeah, maybe something that's longer that would be more relaxed because maybe the theme park people are more go, which is kind of what we're used to.
Well, when I say theme park people, and most people try to do both whenever they do short ones, right?
Land and sea, yeah, which is exactly what we did.
Yeah. Well, when I say they try to do both, I mean longer than you did. You just did 1 day before.
Right.
They're talking about literally half and half, pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. If you want to find more information about this, where would you do that?
Well, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. That is all at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store, which you can find your exclusive merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM podcast. And as I just mentioned earlier, we do have a YouTube channel in which I did upload the Guardians ride, and I plan on uploading a couple of more things soon. And you can find that on the website, which, Adam, you can discuss more about that.
Our website is travelingwiththemouse.com. You can find links to that and more there. You can also email us, podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And if you want to have some assistance planning your next Disney cruise, Disney World, land and sea trip, then you can reach out to our travel agent friend. Her name is Jill Dilbeck, and her email address is jilldilbeck@gmail.com.
So, for John and Adam, I am Jason. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip. Ship.
Our next
Trip.
ship.
It's such a pretty boat. Ship.
Ship.